Welcome to Deconstructing, where I take apart an iconic horror movie to find out what makes it tick. If you've been keeping up with our little series, you've figured out that I dive deep into horror movies you probably enjoyed since you were a kid. If that's true, then I hope you have as much fun as I do. And I think this time I'm going to put a smile on your face, because today I'm deconstructing one of the most crowd-pleasing horror movies of all time. If you're wondering why I skipped over Sam Raimi's indie classic The Evil Dead en route to its 1987 sequel, that wasn't an oversight. We'll get to that one eventually, but for now we're going to look at the film that has the most horror fans screaming, laughing, and some combination of the two. If you're new to deconstructing, here's the deal. I take classics of the genre and retrace their paths from idea to screen and beyond, dropping a few trivia bombs along the way.
Swallow this.
I do this by breaking the movie into three categories. Origin, in which I go all the way back to the film's roots. Legacy, as I look forward to the film's influence on horror cinema and popular culture. And mystery, as I dig up some lesser-known facts and explore some unanswered questions about it. So sit back in your rocking chair, crank up the reel-to-reel, and get ready for some hilariously bloody mayhem as we deconstruct Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Groovy.
It all started in the 1970s back in Michigan, where Raimi was making Super 8 movies with his friends, including this guy. Sam claims the reason he always put Bruce Campbell in front of the camera is because he was the best actor of the group and the one the girls liked most. Together, they managed to finance a 16mm feature film, raising the money by hitting up doctors, lawyers, and local business owners with a test run of Evil Dead called Within the Woods, which Bruce also starred in. The rest, as they say, is movie history. The concept for Evil Dead 2 was actually born during pre-production on The Evil Dead, when publicist Irvin Shapiro encouraged Sam Raimi to come up with a sequel. After his comedy Crime Wave bombed at the box office, Raimi decided to revisit the sequel, which he then split into two separate films as the original concept proved too expensive. The sequel would have found Bruce Campbell's character Ash Williams transported to the Middle Ages to battle Kandarian demons and their undead army. Those creatures would eventually be called Deadites, which became part of the Evil Dead canon. In 1985, Raimi was still seeking funds for Evil Dead 2. This news reached author Stephen King, who was directing Maximum Overdrive for producer Dino De Laurentiis at the time. King was a huge fan of Evil Dead and encouraged Dino to finance the sequel. He eventually did, but on the condition Raimi make it more like the first film and save the time-traveling concept for a third installment. An earlier draft of Evil Dead 2 included a lengthy prologue recycling footage from the first movie to cut costs, but the filmmakers couldn't secure the rights to it, forcing them to reshoot the prologue from scratch. Budgetary restrictions also required Raimi to scale the story down, so he and co-writer Scott Spiegel turned out a draft in which Ash visits the infamous cabin with his girlfriend and no one else. The final draft turns back the clock and restarts the Evil Dead timeline, which meant Bruce now had to battle the Deadites on his own for the first act of the film. A handful of supporting characters were added, including Annie, the daughter of the professor who discovered the Book of the Dead, who intended to bring him a handful of missing pages from the book. Despite Raimi's efforts to make the film's violence deliberately comical, even to the point of using different colors of slime instead of red blood, it was still slapped with an X rating by the MPAA. That was a big problem, since they were contractually obligated to deliver an R-rated cut, and there was no way to edit out the gore and still have a feature-length film, but they found a way around that. Dino's son-in-law formed the shell company Rosebud Releasing, and the film was released unrated to the same theaters Dino's company had originally booked. Thankfully, Evil Dead 2 became a modest success, due in large part to word of mouth among horror fans, and a cult classic was now part of a growing franchise. Not only did the medieval chapter of the saga make it to the big screen in 1992 as Army of Darkness, interest for a fourth film continued to grow. Still, it wasn't until 2013 that the inevitable remake finally reached theaters. While it basically reworked the original film's plot for modern audiences, it did include a post-credits teaser opening the door for Bruce Campbell's return.
Groovy.
On Halloween of 2015, fans finally got their wish. Instead of a fourth film, Ash's misadventures came to the small screen with the same macabre sense of humor and even more outrageous gore and violence. Campbell has officially retired from playing Ash in future projects, but in the Evil Dead universe, just about anything can happen. Since the franchise has expanded across every mass medium, it's become a favorite obsession for gamers, comic collectors, and cosplayers alike. It's also something of a holy grail for collectors, including fans who travel to North Carolina year-round in search of abandoned props. For example, this enormous monster, nicknamed Rotten Applehead by the crew, was too big to remove from the set, so they left it behind. It was believed to be lost forever until someone recognized it in a local Halloween haunt. Souvenirs were also collected from the cabin location, including bricks from the fireplace and planks of wood from the floorboards.
Work shed.
A few final visitors were allowed to recover enough materials to reconstruct the original work shed built for the film. The restored shed actually made the rounds at horror conventions, including Wizard World 2016 in Chicago, where Bruce Campbell was appearing as a guest. As with many unrated horror films, different versions were shot. This includes a television edit of the film, with much of the graphic violence removed, and additional or extended scenes added to fill out the runtime. This version never aired in the United States, but it was broadcast in Mexico, where a fan managed to record it. This copy, titled Evil Dead 2 Severely Edited for Television, has since been traded among fans through horror conventions and mail-order vendors, and of course you can now find it online along with a few scenes from an early work print. Raimi says more alternate takes and additional scenes were cut from the final version, but very little of this footage is available today, and he says it's probably lost forever. These missing scenes include a shot of the professor's wife Henrietta as she becomes possessed by the incantations in the Book of the Dead, also an extended take of Linda's severed head attacking Ash with a snake-like tongue, and possessed Ash devouring a live squirrel. Now, this may be bogus, but it's worth noting. Raimi claims the demonic sound nicknamed The Force was a distorted combination of his own voice and that of Orson Welles, as a bizarre tribute to the Citizen Kane director, whose groundbreaking techniques inspired the young filmmaker. With that said, Raimi has occasionally fibbed about aspects of the film for promotional purposes, and it's pretty certain they couldn't afford Orson's fee. If you're one of Evil Dead 2's many adoring fans, maybe you can help solve some of these riddles or share some trivia of your own. We'd love to hear from you, so jump into the comments. While you're here, be sure to give this video a like and ring the little bell to subscribe for more original Joe Blow horror content. In the meantime, stay groovy.